Are you one of those people who always talks about stretching in order to solve your muscle stiffness, tension, or pain? Well, I'm Dr. Ashley, and I'm here today to talk about two different principles, one being flexibility, the other being mobility, and to discuss why doing things like stretching to improve your flexibility may not always be the solution to your discomfort, tension, or pain. So let's get started. How many of you out there have said, oh my goodness, I really need to start stretching because I need to become more flexible? Well, guys, we need to chat about that a little bit more. I want to get into the definitions between flexibility and mobility and why we need to start thinking about mobility just a little bit more. But before I do, make sure you hit that subscribe button. And if you're enjoying our content, share our channel with your friends. When we're talking about flexibility, we are simply discussing the ability of a muscle to be passively moved through its entire range of motion. That is stretching, pulling your leg behind you, using a stretch strap or your hands to stretch your hamstring, right? Those are things that are done without your own movement, without active muscle contractions, and basically they are assisted, and that is all. When we're talking about stretching, we're talking about improving flexibility, but what really is muscle length without any sort of muscle strength? Yes, we can have a muscle that is very flexible. You can do a split, but can you actively pull your leg towards your head? I want you to think about that a little bit. If we have flexibility, but we don't have muscle strength or mobility, what really does start to happen? Sometimes that's actually why we have some extra muscle tension hanging around, because we don't have the adequate ability to move our muscles as they should. So let's start thinking about mobility a little bit more. So what really is mobility? Mobility is the ability of us, ourselves, right, as humans, to be able to actively move our soft tissues and our joints through the entirety of their range of motion. We are able to control the movement, we are able to have good movement, and we can actively do the task we're asking that muscle to do. So, for example, if I'm to lie on the ground, right, use a stretch strap to pull my hamstring up towards my head, like you're seeing now, what is that? That is simply flexibility. Now, if I lie on the ground and I try to actively bring my leg up towards the sky, what is that? That's more mobility. We want to make sure that any flexibility we have good mobility to go along with it. Why? That's what our body is like. We don't sit in a passive lifestyle. We sit in an active lifestyle. And having proper mobility in the areas of the body that we need them, our shoulders, our hands, our hips, our feet, our ankles, it's important for everyday life. What individuals in the fitness industry and the healthcare industry need to stop doing is really interchanging flexibility and mobility. Yes, you can have amazing flexibility, but you may not be mobile. And you may have some mobility, but you may not be super flexible. These terms do not mean the same thing. In order to really improve health, yes, flexibility is important, but in my personal opinion, as a physical therapist, developing mobility, developing control through your range of motion is a little bit more important. Sometimes other things I think about when it comes to being mobile are what happens if you do need to move in a weird direction, or if you have to do something that you're not used to doing. Do you have the ability to do that? Do you have the ability to get on and off the floor? Remember, doing any simple everyday task requires some type of mobility because we're in active movement. We don't, as I've already said, live in a passive lifestyle. We don't live stretching our muscles constantly. At least we shouldn't. The reason being is we don't want that muscle to become elongated and not have its full contractile ability, right, through its full range of motion that it should. So I want you to think about these two things just a little bit differently here forward. Think about flexibility as passive ability to move tissues through a range of motion. Think about mobility as your ability to achieve that same range of motion, but by yourself. And when you think about this pretty hard, think about which one of those would be a little bit more important to maintain a healthy lifestyle over time. So ultimately, when I think about the concept of mobility, I think of ballerinas and gymnasts. They can control their body through a very large range of motion, doing different tasks through ranges of motions of their joints that many of us on a daily basis do not ever see. The big thing is that you have to remember these individuals are both flexible and mobile. They can pull their leg to their head, but if you've ever noticed, they can also actively move their leg too. And that's what we're really looking for. We just want you to be strong, we want you to be mobile, and we want you to stay healthy over time. So as always, if you're enjoying our content, as I've already said, hit that subscribe button. But also, if you have any questions about what was in this video today, don't hesitate to post them in the comments section below.